Touching Up Our Roots tour. Woo!
Attention, attention, the flight is taking off. My name is Maria Helena Dolan, and I am one of your spokesmodels for this afternoon.
You better work. Oh, we will, don't worry.
Yeah. You know, it's not like I'm getting paid for this.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly.
The reason why I'm here is because I have been here a really long time, and I have worked in a number of things in the community, and my CV, but I'm really pleased that we're going to be sharing some stories here. And pero primero quiero decir algo a la gente y perdóname por esas notas porque mi español está oxidado. Vamos a escuchar algunos hechos del pasado y partes de nuestro legado. Yo creo que para envisionar el futuro necesitamos recoger y recordar el pasado. Me alegro que estamos aquí porque esta es una versión de crear familia, y familia está tan importante hoy día. Parte de la resistencia, ¿no? Sabemos que hay historias diferentes, de colores, de culturas, y hay muchos cuentas para decir. Pues tenemos solamente 2 horas y debido, pues vamos a recontar algunas de esos. Por favor, disfrutan lo que ofrecemos, ¿no? Okay, so just welcome everybody. And we know in a city like Atlanta, there are a lot of different stories. We have different cultures. We have different histories. We have different, just a diverse population. So we're going to just go over a few as we can. All right.
Welcome. Excuse me. I'm Dave Hayward, and Maria, Helena, and I are your tour guides today. So somebody said I should tell you a little bit about myself. I've been doing this for almost 50 years, since I was a college student, and I helped to organize the 1972 Pride, which was the first Pride to march in the streets. Does anybody know when the first Pride was?
30 years ago.
No, more than that. 1971. That was the first Pride March. And they could not get a permit. They had to march on the sidewalks and stop every traffic light. And they went to the Georgia chapter of the ACLU, and they said, will you help us get a permit? And they said, no, you are not a minority. So we've come a long way. We've come a really long way. So anyway, I started this organization, Touching Up Our Roots. I like that for LGBT History Project. You all gonna touch up our roots? Right? Touch those roots. So, and we celebrate the contributions that LGBTQ people have made to expanding civil rights for all people, to creating civic and neighborhood organizations, and to enhancing local, regional, and national culture. So it's the 4 C's. It's our contributions to civil rights, civics, and culture. Yay! The positive things. So the great things that we as LGBTQ people have done. So our first stop is going to be at the Names Project Ace Memorial Quilt. And we have Julie Rode, who's the CEO of the quilt, to come on. Everybody know about the quilt? The quilt? Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, you're going to find out more. She's about to talk to us. Thank you.
I have to have my wife hold on to everything. She enjoys that part of it. So anyhow, I want to talk about downtown a little bit, and that's a lot of where the Black Pride story exists. There have been numerous bars and cultural opportunities here, which of course don't exist anymore because things have been bulldozed and gentrified out of existence. But one thing that I really would like to point people to is the Hammond's House. That was Otis Strass Hammonds, was an anesthesiologist who fell in love with this Victorian and restored her to unimaginable beauty. And he also collected African and African American art. And the artist Freddie Stiles is the one who's caretaking. So I have over 200 curated pieces, and it's very impressive. When he died in 1985, his family said it was from leukemia. It was not. It was from HIV. So there's a lot of that. And if you keep going down Martin Luther King, you'll come into the historic black colleges. The historic black colleges, and Spelman in particular has done a lot of queer work. That's where the Audre Lorde papers are. And I have helped organize different International Women's Day gatherings and items there. Now here's the quilt, so I have to shut up.
I guess I'm more to come. Is that what I hear? Hi, I'm Julie Rode. I'm with the AIDS Memorial Quilt, and you are very close to our downtown headquarters, right at the corner of Combe and Lucky. We have been in Atlanta for, about 18 years now. And what we do from our headquarters every year, and every day actually, is we send out sections of the AIDS Memorial Quilt to display sites all over the country and all over the world. And one of the reasons why I think it's incredibly important for this quilt to remain relevant is that only through our memory and caring for our memory and knowing our history can we find ways to move forward. And memory gives us our sense of place in time. And the quilt does that, as well as about 2,000 people, actually this year it was more like 3,000 people came through our doors here in Atlanta on civil rights and social justice journeys. And they are taking trips that are Selma, Montgomery, Memphis, Atlanta, Birmingham. And the quilt is one of those places where we wrap it up and we tie everything together. And we talk about access to care and access to a quality education and the social justice issues that impact us no matter what, and how we're all connected one to another. It is the largest ongoing community art project in the world. It has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Films about it have won the Academy Award, and every day we still get a new panel in. And so this is part of our unfinished work. The work of social justice and the work of civil rights and human rights are intricately connected to the AIDS Memorial Quilt. And that's really it. I mean, if you guys have questions, I can be here for any questions that you might have. And anytime you want to come see us, just go to aidsquilt.org, send us a note at info@aidsquilt, and we'll schedule a time. There are all of 5 of us who work for this organization, of which 2 are full-time and the rest are part-time. So we need to schedule your visits so that we can accommodate you. We have 2 locations. Our other location is out in Tucker, where we have our warehouse where quilt goes in and out every day. Right now there are about 30 displays going on in New York for Stonewall. And we're pretty darn proud that the community wanted to have quilt there, from synagogues to the Hudson Yards to everything. I mean, it's really kind of been wonderful. What have I missed? I look at Maria because she knows what I've missed, and she will tell. She is very authoritative. That's right. Anything? You guys have questions? Nope. We came here in 2001 as the full entity. Prior to that, there had been a very active chapter. We have chapters in about 9 different locations around the country. Chapters sprung up out of our national displays, because when you think about the founding of the organization, we were founded to create and advance this movement that was ACT UP at the time, but we needed to find a way to take things from, well, you know, every movement needs Malcolm X and Dr. King and everything in between, and our movement needed the same, and the AIDS movement needed the same. And what the quilt did, you know, Cleve said he wanted it to be a weapon against the bigotry, the homophobia, and the hatred that was making us talk about people who had this disease or who had died from this disease as the other. And What this quilt did, though, was it not only bore witness and laid out our dead on the National Mall so that people could see these were real people with real lives and people who loved them, it united people from all walks of life. Because moms and dads, gays and straights, talls and shorts, everybody who was making a panel then came to DC, and instead of Jesse Helms thinking that AIDS was about homosexuals and saying on the halls of Congress that all gays deserve to die, he had to face our moms and our dads and our brothers and our sisters. So this quilt is about connecting people, seeing yourself in the issue, and advancing social justice. So we came here in 2001.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the panels in the quilt. There's a lot of people that we knew who are represented there now. Has anyone ever heard of Trolley St. John? That's why you guys are here. Trolley St. John was, we call him the first openly gay anything, because he was the first openly gay person appointed to a political position here in Atlanta. And that was in 1972 by Mayor Sam Massell. He was appointed to the Community Relations Commission and served honorably. Sadly, he's one of the people who's passed away. And he has, I think, a couple of panels in the quilt. We were talking about this on the last tour. Is there such a thing as a gay restaurant, per se, or an LGBTQ restaurant? But it was founded by two gay men, Steve Nygren and Dick Daly. And we're going to pass by the first location of the Pleasant Peasant. They also had a more casual dining restaurant called Mix. So they're no longer. It was a huge restaurant chain that was here up until, 10 years ago, something like that. But when you would go there, everybody kind of knew that almost all the waiters were gay. Right? Do you remember? You want to talk a little bit about that? No, you don't? Okay.
Now we're coming on the Eagle. The police came and they heard about a back room and they thought they were going to catch all these people in flagrante delicto. In fact, it was too early in the night for that. I'm just saying.
They didn't know anything. They did not know.
So, but they made people lay down, face down on the floor, which you know what a bar floor is like, and handcuffed them behind their backs. And, it was quite a terrible experience, but the proprietor, Steve, no, his name is Rich, right? Yeah. Richard. He sued the city, and they got a 1.2 million settlement. Only $66,000 went to him because of the loss of revenue for that night, and the rest was divided up between lawyers and the people who were arrested, which I think is pretty cool. Come in, Tony. Hey.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
How are y'all doing?
Good.
Thanks so much for coming by today. So, 2017, I was sitting at the back. It's out there. I was sitting at the back of the bus. We passed by this park on the wrong side of the road over there. The plaque was covered in leaves. They raked it off to read it to us. So today you can see it clear. It's not abandoned anymore. The mayor's office called me last May and said, Tony, how can we help you? We love what you're doing. So, everything you see except for the trees, the signs even, because somebody said, hey bitches, we want a sign. We've been asking for it. So everything you see up here happened since March 1st this year. So love y'all, thank you a lot. The party is for you guys because we are here. Neighbors are coming out, people that can travel from out of town to come by just so we can wave to you guys. So thanks. Hugs and kisses, everybody.
Bye.
Actually, when Ray died and he was going to get this part, he said I should have his cremains so that we could actually put them there. So he would always be here on Monroe. He loved Park. Bye, honey. And you can buy a Great Luca Park t-shirt to help fund the effort. John Howell Memorial Playground.
There's a plaque there, and the thing that's interesting to me about the plaque is it talks all about his work for the Virginia Highland Neighborhood Association, and doesn't say anything about the work that he did for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community. So, I need to add something to that plaque.
If you don't know, we've referenced it a couple of times, but Bowers versus Hardwood was Michael Hardwood. He was in his home, in his bedroom, relaxing with another fellow, and the cop came to the door because it was an illegal warrant that had been quashed, but he got it, and he knocked on the door, and Michael's stupid roommate came to the door and said, "Where is Michael?" Back there. So that's how the cop walked in on him. Michael said, "Excuse me, what are you doing in my bedroom?" Which I think is a good question. But anyhow, so he was charged with sodomy. That was in '82, and that drama continued to 1986 when the Supremes upheld that. In 1987, for the second march on Washington for LGBTQ rights, there was civil disobedience on the steps of the Supreme Court. And I want to say one of the proudest days of my life was when I was arrested on the steps of the Supreme Court. I was being very civil disobedience. But then they process you, take you downtown. It takes a long time. There are a lot of people. I was arrested with Nancy Reagan, Oscar Wilde. People didn't give their real names.
You were arrested, right?
Yeah, I was arrested with Ray. But anyhow, the funny thing is, 2 years later, I was marching in Pride in Boston because my then girlfriend was from Boston. And this woman came up to me and said, "Wasn't I arrested with you?" "Oh yeah, that's right." Because I couldn't, when was I arrested? Okay.
And does anybody know what started everything, since why you've been doing this tour? What started everything here in 1969? About to know. So again, with police raids, there was a raid on the Ansley Ball Mini Cinema, which was right in Ansley, which is no longer, we'll point out where the location was. And they were showing Andy Warhol's Lonesome Cowboys. And so we had a Solicitor General in Atlanta, Ensign McAuliffe, his name shall live in infamy, who said, I can show the rest of the country how to make the nation hot for porn, which basically means against any kind of porn. And so if you see the movie now, everybody knows Andy Warhol, right? And he made a lot of movies with Paul Dorsey. And so in the movie, there are, naked cowboys and naked cowgirls, for that matter, too. And if you see it now, it's in no way, shape, or form a pornographic movie. But what they did was they went there on August 5th, 1969. We have a dear friend, Abby Drew, that does the Ben Marion Institute for Social Justice, and she was entrapped in the raid. So they came in there on August 5th, 1969, and they stopped the movie like 10 minutes into the movie, and then they photographed everyone and interrogated them. And the thing I love about Abby is she said, I said, what the police, what do they ask you? She said, does your husband know where you are? It's like, there's not a husband. So, but what they did is they stopped them and they took their picture and detained them, and they arrested the projectionist and also the owner of the theater, George Ellis. And there was a Unitarian minister who was in the audience that night, and he sued the city for $500,000. And I don't know what the results of that suit were, but the idea was that anybody who would be in the theater would have to be a homosexual, which is not true. So when you look over here at Ansley, about where Panera Bread is, coming up on it, that's where the Ansley Ball Mini Cinema was and the film forum. So.
George Ellis was a big friend to the queer community. He worked to get films here that ordinarily you would not see in Atlanta. The Victorian era ended a lot later in the South than other parts of the country. That's just a fact. And every Saturday night, he would show the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And that's when people started, dancing in the aisles and then a toast. A toast. And, when the rain pours, with a little newspaper over their head like Susan Sarandon. I used to do that. It was great fun. When George wanted to expand, he moved the cinema to Little Five Points. Unfortunately, that's the same time period when what's his name when he had started the one at Cheshire Bridge in Vista. LaFont, yeah. They would duke it out for the same films, and LaFont had more money, so eventually George had to cave. It's really unfortunate, but money talks.
We're approaching Cheshire Bridge in the Vista, and again, I don't know exactly how these things happen, but Cheshire Bridge in the Vista was one of the first locations in Atlanta where we had openly LGBTQ businesses. So that attempted Piedmont, kind of the epicenter of what was LGBT Atlanta. And we're about to go into Cheshire Square, and they had two major places there. Hollywood Hots. Anybody ever heard of Hollywood Hots? Hollywood Hots. It was a big cabaret place, big show bar. And then also the Locker Room, which was the gay men's bathhouse, right next to each other. And sometimes the patrons of the Locker Room would wander over to Hollywood Hots in their towels.
It looks like nothing.
And I would tell them to move. But we're coming up to the Sweet Gum Head, and one thing about the Sweet Gum was a show bar is they would hold we call benefits for different people. Vicky Cabriner, who had been in Students for Democratic Society at SDS, was pretty ultra-left in the Weather Underground. She had to get money to raise for her defense. She was brought up on federal charges. I don't know if she served any time, did she? No, anyhow. So she was a person that had a fundraiser there, and then Mary Jo Reisher was a woman. This happened a lot years ago, who got divorced and lost her kids because she had come out, or just because she didn't have a woman lover. And so it was an important bar back there. And that other intersection.
We're passing Piedmont Park, and one of the things that we noticed in our research was that back in 1969, there were all these articles in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution about how the police were driving the homosexuals out of Piedmont Park. So that was the time when Vincent McAuliffe, the Solicitor General I mentioned to you, was really kind of on a rampage in cahoots with the police department. Piedmont has always been basically our park. It's where we had some of the first gay pride rallies, and we would march, and then we would all congregate in Piedmont Park, and that still is the case. So it's kind of like our community park. Where we just passed, that was where RuPaul starred in Rocky Horror Picture Show, playing Riff Raff and theatrical outfit. And this used to be what they called the Strip, and it was basically the hippie community, and also one of the first LGBTQ areas here. Used to have all kinds of LGBTQ businesses here, and some of them are still welcoming and friendly. But in terms of like the bar on Peachtree, theatrical outfit, different places like that, Illusions, where Charlie Brown started. Okay, Dolan win.
He was talking about hippies and everything. There was a building there, and on the brick it had painted Job Corps for long hairs. Just doing this whole hippie thing with bookstores, meditation stuff for soul, etc. And then, queers moved in, and then, of course, things got gentrified. There's a whole cycle where businesses change, communities change. There's Bulldogs is coming up.
So Bulldogs is, when we came by here on June 2nd, we thought, was this the last gay bar on Peachtree Street? Apparently so. And a major African American gay bar originally was started by Jerry Pishka. And one of the things I do want to say to be, totally fair is that we talked about how some of the gay bars, like the Sweet Gum Head and the Cove, were really opposed to Pride. Jerry Pishka, this is probably about 1978, he was the owner of Bulldogs, and he was one of the first managers, owners of the gay bar to really participate and support us. And we used to go to Bulldogs and have voter registration tables. And he was really open to that and really said, okay, this is about our human and civil rights and we need to support our community. So.
Jerry actually took a little educating because in the first meeting that we had to plan the Anita Bryant demo, he was there and he said, well, I think we should just buy a billboard that says, we protect Anita Bryant's presence in our city. And all the women there had come through, the women's movement, anti-Vietnam War, all the civil rights, and we all said, no, that's not how it works. You get bodies out in the street. We have 4,000 people for that particular demo, and labor unions were there, religious organizations were there, all kinds of people were there. It's one of those moments where all the allies, everything comes together. It's really important. We're still on the same struggles, but just keep pushing. But do not forget to tip your driver. This is not really an easy tour to do. We realize that. And I know we have tried to pack in a whole lot into a 2-hour span. That's the best we can do. Now, if you had come here 2 weeks ago, you would have gotten the Dyke tour, where we were Decatur and Little 5 Points. The joke in Little 5 Points used to be, how come there are no floods in Little 5 Points? There's a dike on every corner. And now the joke is, how can you tell if it's Halloween in Little 5 Points? You can't.